We live in a time filled with endless information, flashing headlines, loud opinions, and carefully selected truths. And yet, it's often this very flood of content that leaves us feeling most empty. I found myself not longing for more facts, but for deeper meaning. I was looking for understanding, for truth. The word Islam kept coming up in the world around me, but it was usually surrounded by fear, politics, and division. I had heard so much, yet I knew so little. One day I asked a very simple question: what is Islam really all about? And that question led me on a journey. I didn't want answers from the noise or from other people's filters. I wanted to see with my own eyes, hear with my own ears, and feel with my own heart. My search led me to books, conversations, and quiet moments of deep thought. What I discovered was very different from what I had assumed. Deep down, Islam didn't feel foreign, it felt familiar. It spoke in a way my soul already understood. It taught that there is one God, merciful, fair, and near. We weren't made by chance, but with a purpose. And that purpose isn't confusion, it's to worship. Worship through devotion, through thankfulness, through doing good and standing for what is right. Opened the Quran, not just because I was curious, but because I was sincere. And reading it felt like it was reading me. Inside its pages, I found clarity. It encouraged me to think, to question, to reflect. It didn't ask me to shut down my thoughts. It asked me to use them. It didn't expect blind belief. It gave me signs. Everywhere from the stars above to the thoughts inside me. And I watched how Muslims lived, the way they prayed, the way they fasted during Ramadan, how they gave to those in need, how they treated their neighbors kindly, and how they carried themselves with discipline. I began to realize Islam wasn't just about belief, it was a way of living, a rhythm that moves from belief to action, from worship to kindness. It wasn't about changing into someone I'm not. It was about becoming more real. This truth didn't scream, it whispered. It didn't force, it welcomed. And in that quiet invitation, I found something I wasn't expecting: peace. I had started out trying to learn about Islam, but somewhere along the way, Islam started teaching me about myself. The beginning of many journeys into Islam doesn't start with love or admiration, it starts with confusion. For many people, the word Islam first comes to them not through the Quran or the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but through news reports, political arguments, and world events. These sources often focus on conflict, extremism, and cultural gaps. This creates a picture that feels distant, strict, or even scary. Naturally, this leaves people not with real knowledge, but with curiosity mixed with doubt. That curiosity, though, is very human. When something is talked about so often, but not explained honestly, people start to wonder, is this really all there is to Islam? That small question can quietly become the start of a much deeper journey. When something is talked about so much, yet remains misunderstood, it becomes harder to accept others' opinions without checking for yourself. So the search begins not for someone else's opinions, but for real understanding. Often this search starts not with a big event, but with a small uncomfortable feeling. Realizing that repeating what others say doesn't mean you truly understand. This curiosity isn't always about religion at first. It's about fairness and truth. It's a desire to remove all the noise and misrepresentation and see what Islam actually teaches. This part of the journey is important. It shows that the wish to understand is stronger than the wish to agree or disagree. It begins with honesty, with a mind asking, what if I've only seen one side of this? What if there's more that I've never clearly been shown? That honest question opens a door. It might not lead straight to belief, but it leads to looking more closely, and looking closely with sincerity is always the first real step toward discovering what Islam truly is. The choice to explore Islam for oneself is a key moment. It marks the move from depending on second-hand stories and stereotypes to dealing directly with the source. This can be done by reading, speaking to Muslims, and experiencing things firsthand. This step takes courage. It means stepping outside of comfort zones, questioning long-held beliefs, and accepting the possibility that what you've been told so far may not be fully accurate. Only through personal exploration can someone hope to find the complete truth. Often this begins with small steps: reading a copy of the Quran, listening to Muslim voices, or visiting a mosque. These first steps may feel strange or even uncomfortable. The language, the traditions, or the ideas may seem unfamiliar, but underneath that surface is a quiet invitation. Look deeper. Go beyond your first impressions. As the seeker spends more time with the real teachings, they start to notice a sense of unity and order. Unlike many belief systems, Islam gives a full picture that connects the spiritual with the everyday, the personal with the community, and moral values with practical laws. This harmony is powerful because it answers both the heart's need for purpose and the mind's need for logic. Islam holds a balance between faith and thought, between surrender and freedom. Also, the decision to explore Islam directly creates a personal connection with what is learned. It's no longer just reading words. It becomes something lived. A verse from the Quran, a prayer, or watching how Muslims practice their faith becomes something real and touching. It invites reflection. How does this connect to my life? Does it match what I feel deep down? This personal journey turns curiosity into understanding, and that understanding often turns into respect. The seeker no longer depends on second-hand versions. They become active in their own discovery. This process is not just about learning Islam. It's about reclaiming your ability to think, to ask questions, and to grow. It's the point where all the noise from outside begins to fade and the real voice of Islam can finally be heard, clear, direct, and true. Coming into contact with the main message of Islam can be a deeply moving experience, especially for those who have come with questions and uncertainties. Many people begin their search shaped by outside opinions, but when they go deeper, they find that Islam's main message is surprisingly clear and full of meaning. At its core, Islam teaches the worship of one God, a single, all-powerful creator who is merciful, fair, and caring. This idea, known as Tawheed, is the base of everything in Islam. It gives a clear and consistent view of the world and our place in it. What makes this message so powerful is its call for sincerity and direction. Islam teaches that life is not just a series of random moments. It's a meaningful creation guided by a higher plan. Each person has a role to recognize and worship God through their thoughts, words, and actions. Worship isn't limited to rituals. It's a complete way of living that includes fairness, kindness, truthfulness, and being humble. This understanding breaks the common idea that Islam is just a list of strict rules. Instead, it shows a full and balanced way of life where faith and action go hand in hand, and where kindness and moral values are signs of real belief. Islam also focuses on God's kindness and forgiveness. It offers hope to anyone who sincerely wants to return to Him. It accepts that humans are not perfect and encourages constant improvement and turning back to God. This balance between responsibility and mercy builds a strong connection between a person and their Creator, one based on love and trust, not just fear. Another key part of Islam's message is about caring for others. Islam asks people to treat each other well, to support fairness, and to work toward a better world. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a part of the faith itself. For many seekers, learning this opens a door they never knew existed. The message is powerful. It removes fear and confusion and replaces them with understanding and hope. It presents Islam not as something foreign or harsh, but as a belief based on mercy, purpose, and truth. It invites everyone to live a life filled with dignity and meaning. The Quran, which Muslims believe to be the direct word of God, plays a key role in helping people understand Islam. It's not just a book to read, it's a living message that speaks through time, across cultures, and into personal situations. For many people searching for truth, coming to the Quran is a turning point. It often challenges what they thought they knew and opens the door to deep thinking. Unlike other religious texts that may focus mainly on history or symbolism, the Quran speaks clearly and directly, touching both the mind and heart at the same time. What makes the Quran stand out is its one-of-a-kind way of speaking and the mix of ideas it presents. Its verses combine beautiful language with clear instructions, stories with rules, and deep thoughts with helpful advice. This mix makes it open and valuable to many people. Whether someone is looking for knowledge, motivation, or comfort, the Quran offers something to connect with. It often asks the reader to look at the natural world, think about how life began, and reflect on the choices we face as human beings. These thoughts aren't just ideas, they're closely tied to real life, helping the reader notice the signs of God in the world and within themselves. Another amazing part of the Quran is its focus on thinking and learning. It repeatedly tells people to think, to ask questions, and to seek understanding. It doesn't ask for blind belief. It encourages honest exploration. This openness to thought surprises many newcomers, as it shows that Islam respects knowledge and sees it as a path to truth. The Quran also speaks openly about the human experience. Reading it is often life-changing. People feel like they're having a personal conversation with something alive and relevant. This moment can spark a feeling of deep respect and humility as the deeper meanings begin to show themselves. It becomes clear that the Quran isn't just for studying, it's meant to be lived. Its lessons shape how believers think, what they value, and how they behave, all in a complete and connected way. For many people, this ongoing message becomes a steady source of hope, giving answers to old and new questions, guiding them on their path of belief and understanding. The daily lives and routines of Muslims give a clear view into what Islam is really about. Watching these habits and traditions shows how closely belief and action are connected. Islam is often seen as strict or just about rituals, but in truth, it offers a system that builds discipline, spiritual growth, and care for others in a way that works in real life. One of the most visible parts of Muslim life is the 5 daily prayers. These prayers are not just a way to worship God, they are reminders throughout the day of one's purpose and humility. The physical movements like bowing and kneeling show thankfulness and submission, giving the believer a real and physical sense of connection to their faith. These prayer times interrupt daily routines in a meaningful way, creating moments to think and refresh and forming a steady pattern that shapes the day. Fasting during the month of Ramadan is another deep practice that shows Islam's complete view of life. It's not only about avoiding food and drink, it teaches control, care for those in need, and spiritual cleaning. Ramadan brings people together through shared effort, building unity and kindness. This act of worship touches both the heart and the community, helping the soul grow and also bringing people closer. Giving charity, known as zakat, is another key part of Islam that shows how much the faith values fairness and giving. It's not optional, it's required, and it makes sure that wealth goes to help people who are struggling. This teaching reminds Muslims that their money is a trust from God and that caring for others is a true form of worship. Through charity, Islam supports a fair society where the weak are helped and everyone's dignity is protected. The ethical rules that Islam teaches, like being honest, kind, and respectful, are meant to be used every day, not just during prayer. Islam encourages its followers to live out these values in both private and public life, helping to create peace, fairness, and mutual respect. This link between belief and action creates a complete way of life that helps both individuals and their communities. Together, these practices show Islam as an active, living faith. It helps build good character, supports social unity, and constantly reminds followers of their relationship with God and with one another. This natural mix of belief and practice often surprises and touches those who take time to watch and understand. Truly learning about Islam often leads to a deep personal change, shifting how one sees the world and how they feel inside. This change isn't just about accepting new ideas, it's about feeling a shift in identity, in purpose, and in connection. When someone moves beyond just learning facts about Islam and starts to feel its true message, they often find a new way of looking at life that brings peace, clarity, and belonging. This transformation starts when a person realizes that life has meaning and purpose. Islam gives a full explanation of life. It tells us where we came from, why we're here, and where we're going. This sense of purpose can be comforting for people who feel lost or stressed about life's uncertainties. It replaces a feeling of drifting with a sense of direction and turns confusion into hope. The believer begins to view difficulties not as pointless pain, but as tests or chances to grow, trusting that there is wisdom behind everything. Knowing Islam deeply also brings a kind of inner peace that is hard to explain. It comes from submitting to God's will and realizing that one is part of a greater plan. This peace doesn't rely on things going well. It stays strong even in hard times because it's based on trust and faith. Along with this peace comes a sense of responsibility. Life is no longer driven by short-term wants or pressure from society. Instead, it's led by moral values and spiritual goals. This kind of living builds self-centered patience and strength. In society, this deeper knowledge encourages kindness, fairness, and a sense of community. The believer feels tied not just to God, but to all people, moved to act with love and justice. This view helps take away feelings of being alone or disconnected and replaces them with a strong sense of meaning and usefulness. In the end, discovering Islam's truth often brings a full shift in how one thinks, feels, and lives. It affects thoughts, feelings, relationships, and actions. It changes how one defines success, deals with pain, and understands happiness. This complete transformation is what separates simply knowing about Islam from truly living it, making the religion a source of constant learning and deep joy. In my search to understand what Islam really is, I began a journey driven by curiosity and a need for truth. What I found was far greater than any idea or misunderstanding I had before. I found a faith built on the belief in one kind and loving Creator, with teachings that touch every part of life. Islam is a message that doesn't just ask for belief, it asks for real action, connecting the heart and mind in a shared goal of meaning, fairness, and peace. Through its lessons, its traditions, and its communities, Islam changes not just individuals, but how they see the world and their role in it. To everyone who is exploring, questioning, or simply looking for understanding, I hope your journey is filled with openness and honesty. I hope you find the peace and clarity that comes from looking deeper and finding the real truth. Thank you for spending your time and energy here. Being open with both your heart and mind is the first and most important step in truly understanding. May your path be full of wisdom, kindness, and peace.